folks, it's Mike here. I just want to welcome you back to Mr. Cast Iron, and today I've got a special for you guys. It's an old classic. It's one that I've eaten 100, probably 1,000 times. Who knows? My mom and dad made this when I was young and as a child, and my dad actually called it stuffing nonsense. What is stuffing nonsense? I'm not sure, but I know what Mama made that was called stuffing nonsense. So let me turn this camera around here. We're going to show you some of these ingredients, and we'll explain to you what stuffing nonsense is. All right, stuffing nonsense, folks, is basically your American goulash. So we're going to make that today. It's not your Hungarian goulash like you may have heard of. Hungarian goulash to me is kind of like a beef stew in a way. But this is American goulash, and it's always made with ground hamburgers. So we're going to take, I've got my cast iron 12-inch Dutch oven here. We're going to get a little oil in that and heat it up. And we're going to get our hamburger meat in there. I've got a bunch of chopped onion. We're going to put about a whole chopped onion in there. I've got a bunch of green bell pepper chopped up also, and I'm going to put about half to 3/4 of a whole bell pepper. Also, I've got some minced garlic I'm going to add to this. I've got just a few bay leaves. I'm going to put a couple bay leaves in this also. And one other thing too, I've got some not stewed, but diced tomatoes. Got a pretty good sized can of those. Also, I'm going to add a can of tomato paste. We'll also add just a little bit of beef broth to this mixture. Now, one thing I want to talk to you just a minute about this beef broth. Now, my general rule of thumb is when I'm cooking something like ground beef, or if I'm cooking like venison meat or whatever, I usually add beef broth. Now, if I'm cooking like chicken or turkey or something like that, and I need to add some liquid, usually for chicken and turkey, I'll add chicken broth. But now you could add whatever kind of broth you choose to, but like I said, on ground beef or venison, I typically choose beef broth. And last but not least, we're also going to add some elbow macaroni. Now I've got about 4 cups of dry elbow macaroni that we're going to make to this. It's going to make a pretty good sized pot. So we're going to get this thing heated up, get a little oil in this cast iron Dutch oven, start browning this hamburger meat and these onions and bell pepper, and we'll be back to you here just in a minute. You guys stay tuned, okay? All right, this is beginning to cook down nice. These old onions are starting to sweat down. The bell pepper's softening up a little bit. Ground beef starting to brown. And we're about 3/4 of the way brown here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some SPGO, salt and pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder to this. And not a whole lot. One other thing I'm going to add is a little bit of paprika. All right, we're going to put maybe a tablespoon of paprika in this. That ought to be good, about that much right there. Y'all know I don't measure too often. And we're going to go ahead and throw a couple bay leaves in this. These are kind of small. Add a couple bay leaves to that. Give this a quick stir and let all these dry ingredients begin to marry into this meat. And you let them cook like this before you add all your liquid stuff. It'll kind of help enhance the flavor of whatever you're using, like the salt, the pepper, the garlic, onion powder, and paprika, and even the bay leaves. That just helps release the flavor on them as well. And so we'll let that cook just a little bit more, and we'll be back in just a minute. We'll begin to add all these wet ingredients to it. Well, all right, this is cooked, browned down pretty nice. Everything's looking real good here. Now, I'm going to take and add some tomato paste to this. It's always a joy to try to get that out of the can, isn't it? I think we succeeded at that can. So next I want to add a can of diced tomatoes. I'll add those in there. And my secret ingredient, and that's Rotel. Now we're going to add juice and all. We're not draining this. We didn't drain the tomatoes. We need that liquid. Now, one other thing I failed to mention earlier is Worcestershire sauce. We're going to add just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce to this. And that's our little secret ingredient. Probably about a 1/4 cup. That'll be about enough. And I'm going to take and add, I think this is about 2 cups, isn't it? 4 cups. So we're going to add about 2 cups to this, because you got to remember now, this dry elbow macaroni is going to soak up a lot of this liquid, and I may end up having to put more, but I'm going to start out with 2 cups. And we're going to go ahead, get all this mixed in, let this tomato paste begin to marry into this meat. Get all this mixed in. Boy, I wish you guys could smell this. I'm just telling you right now, this is already smelling real good, and it's only going to get better from here. And so we're going to let that cook for a while. Matter of fact, I'm going to take and add the lid to this, cut my heat back to about medium, and I'm going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. So we're going to set this timer, and we'll come back here in just about 20 minutes and see what that looks like. Okay, well, the timer just went off. Take this lid off. Oh yeah, man, it smells good. Give it a quick stir here. I believe all that's, and them tomatoes and peppers look like they're cooked real good. They're good and soft. It's just not as juicy as I'd like, so I'm going to add a little bit more broth. What the heck, let's go ahead and just pour the rest of it in there, huh? Alright, looking at my ingredients here, all we have left is our elbow macaroni, so I'm going to just pour them in there. Give us a quick little stir around. Alright. Now, I'm going to grab just a little bit of water too. So we're going to go ahead and add just, not quite a cup, about almost a cup. And we'll get that mixed in there. And we'll let those macaroni begin to cook. And we'll come back here in just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and put the lid on and turn our heat down, let her simmer for a little while. And we'll come back here in just a minute. Stay tuned. Well, the timer just went off, so let's take this lid off and see what we got here. Give this a quick stir. Oh yeah. Look at that, folks. I mean, that's thick. Look at that. That stands up even. I love that. That's a test for me. So. All right, let me get the bowl of this. Got a bay leaf right there. And look how hearty that is. I mean, those noodles, tomatoes. Like I said, this is called American goulash. And during these times of COVID and quarantine cooking, you know, we're all having to stay in and everything, the pandemic got everybody staying in and cooking. So we've done a little quarantine cooking goulash today, and American goulash it is. So we've got this bowl here ready, so I'm going to give it a taste and see. But I want you to just look at that, how hearty that is. Man, steaming too, you know. Get that out of my beard. Wow, it's got a good flavor to it, no doubt. And I'll leave the ingredients down in the description box. But, you know, for the quarantine cooking goulash, this is American goulash. Like I said, my mom and dad used to make it all the time. My mom called it goulash. My dad called it stuffing nonsense. And he loved it, and I certainly love it too. It's great. I mean, it's one of the great comfort foods, especially this time of the year. We're in the fall of the year. It's starting to cool off. And so one of these right here will stick to your ribs, as they say. You know, this is kind of the stuff that is really good comfort food. And so we just wanted to share this with you. And hey, there's going to be some videos that pop up here on the side of me here. Click on those and we'll be over there with you guys and show you some other recipes. Have a great day. It's Mike over here at Mr. Cast Iron.